I do want to let you know that next week they will have the 47 floors climb up in the FMC Tower at Sierra Central South, 2929 Walnut Street, around University City. Is 47 floors, flights of floors, stairs rather, that you will climb in lieu of bringing awareness to lymphoma and also leukemia. So please register at Labor Strong under events during our myldcbenefits.com. Also, we have guests in the studio audience, although Cody left me and he's busy. We do have guests, and I'm glad they're here today. We have Mr. Malik Staten and William Copeland from Labor's Local 332. They're going to talk a lot about the community and committee that they serve on, the local. They're also going to talk about their outreach, importance of member involvement. So we have a nice, big, great show for you to listen to. So hello, gentlemen, and welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Hello.
How's everything going?
Great.
A little rainy, but that's okay. So introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background when it comes to Labor's. Who wants to start?
Hi there. I'm William Copeland. I'm a member at Local 332, and I'm also the chairman of the Next Generation Committee.
Oh, I'm Malik Staten. I'm a third-generation laborer, so I was born a laborer. I'm a business agent. I'm trying to be Mr. Everything.
Hey.
Trying to make sure we keep this place around for another 100 years.
Yes, sir. That's what's important. So real quick, Will, how long have you been in labor and in the union?
About 9 or 10 years.
Okay,
like
9 or 10 years. That's great. That's great. So you're in the field now?
No, I'm in PHA.
Okay, you always been at PHA?
No.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your history in the Labor's Will. Don't be shy now. Talk to us.
Well, when I first got in the union, I used to work for Kemp.
Okay.
Was it Steve Kemp Building Material?
Mm-hmm.
And let me think. After working there for a while, I was given a blessing of opportunity to work at PHA as an asbestos worker.
Okay.
And then I went back into the field doing concrete and came back to PHA doing concrete. And I've just been back and forth.
Okay, back and forth.
PHA.
9 years dedicated member. And how long have you been with the Labor's, Malik Staten?
Since I can remember, I remember being a kid, and I remember the same song we would just listen to, Ain't No Stopping Us Now.
Yes.
When my grandfather became the boss, and I really understood what he was a part of. And then I worked for PHA for about almost 20 years.
Okay.
And then and now I'm an agent, and well, like I said, I'm trying to be Mr. Everything.
Mr. Everything. Well, you know, I have you guys on here today. One is to give a little perspective on, you know, you guys are considered semi-millennials, we'll say. Mm-hmm. But, you know, starting off in a union, it's more than just paying your dues and just, you know, 9 to 5 work. But at the time when you're hired, the check is good, the benefits are great, you're not as involved. So my first question to both of you I want to think about real quick is, before you became involved in the union, because it takes a minute to actually get involved in the union, you know, what was it that, Will, I'm going to ask you first, that, you know, in addition to paying a dues member, you know, paying your dues, and also just getting a check, what was the change that made you want to get more involved in the union? Because, you know, the more that you're involved, the stronger the union. So that's my question to you, being semi-millennials, you know?
Yeah, truth be told,
yes.
When I first started getting involved was a couple of months after my dad passed away, because he was also in the local for about 30 years himself. Okay. And when he passed away, I was going through a bout of depression. And we had the new member orientation. And Vince Chandler saw me there, and he saw me down. He was like, well, what's wrong? And he started talking to me, and I told him what happened.
Right.
And, you know, he reached out and showed me that there is a brotherhood there. And he started telling me to get involved and come here and come there. Then I started coming out of that shell, and next thing you knew, I was at the hall all the time.
all the time, and that's what it takes. And people don't understand that it is a brotherhood. It is like your second family. Once you become involved and you see that people are initially there for your best interest, and they have it, and it's not just about paying dues and receiving the benefits and the paycheck, but it's like a second family, and they want to be there to help you when you go through stuff, personal stuff. You know, you might not want to share with anyone, but you connect with someone, and that's what the brotherhood is about. So Malik, what brought you in? Because I know you was in the field for a while before you became...
Well, what I saw was that a lot of people have loyalty issues, so they'll be more loyal to the company, loyal to the establishment. They believe that the company pays them what they pay them because they want to, not that because it's a negotiated benefit. That there's a lot of hard work and fighting that goes into receiving the wages and benefits that we receive. So I think for me, I saw too how easy it is for people to stay on the outside, fall to the outside and stay there. And most of the time they would only come when it was an immediate benefit, not for them to give back something, but maybe someone would come running to the hall if they heard something was being given away, or the hall has some surplus this or some free food, or whatever, maybe the picnic or things that the civic engagement that we have. They'll show up for those things, but when they're called upon, oh, I have this going on, I have that going on, and I think what they don't understand is that we're stronger together, no matter how it goes, and that's across all fronts, across all contracts, across whatever politics, whatever you want to say. Is better when you have more people, and the message always gets kind of twisted and distorted because they think that the money is the end result, but the money isn't the end result. If you want this to be around for your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, you have to put the work and the effort and the energy into it now yourself. It's bigger than just receiving a paycheck. It's really it's a big deal. But I think and me seeing that from the outside, looking in, or being around those people and hear those conversations on the job, hearing them talking about, oh man, all the unions do is take our money, all they do is take our dues, and some of those folks need to just come to the hall and see how many people are saved every day, even outside of work. I've witnessed something hilarious today that I'm not going to share, but just the fact that a person can actually have their life saved in a judicial system. I mean, because of things that happen, because of relationships. So it's things that are always happening and are always going on. I think people aren't really aware of those, because they do that. They just go to work and go home. Their loyalty is more to the company than towards themselves.
To the company that pays those bills, but what they don't understand, like you said, is those business managers and trustees who negotiated, those bills to be paid, those dues, those prepaid legals, those health and welfare, those pension dues to, that they pay, that they reluctantly would not want to pay. But once again, it is about relationships. And so at the same time, like you said, those individuals who don't come and support the hall, but at the same time, when you need help from the hall, the local is there. The local will not turn their back on you, because they know how hard it is, and you're not going to get the help anywhere else you need or the support. So they will show up for you when time in need, whether it's to save your job or to help you, whatever the situation is. They are there, and people really need to know. That's why it's important to get involved and stay close to the local. It's a lot that's going on, but you need the support of the membership. Like I said, and I know a lot of people who are about to retire and things, they've been there, done that, but I pull you too, because, it's a lot of people, your age that's in the locals now, and that they will be our next generation, people to serve the unions and members, and that's why you have to instill in them now and show them the way, and you guys are leading by a great example with the Next Generation Committee. Can you tell us a little bit of how that got started?
Oh, to me? Okay, so, well, the boss, the business manager, Samuel Staten Jr., brought a bunch of men and their sons together at the Union Hall, really as a conversation piece, as a way to get men to communicate with their fathers better, and the fathers to communicate with the sons better. And out of that, the sons and the fathers, both the communication and the way that talk went, the sons began to talk even more, and it became a part of, I guess, just the culture. It became a part of the culture, to not only recognize that there needed to be a contingency plan.
Right.
There needed to be a way for young men to be more involved because, you know, as you know, our leaders begin to resign and retire and relax and put their feet up, they need to make sure there's a plan in place for someone else to pick the torch up. So that's pretty much how that went. And we have a really strong group of young ladies and young men today who are really doing it. Like, they're really doing it. They're really asking the right questions. They're really trying to figure out not just the union on the surface, but the inner workings of it, and how things came to be the way that they are, and how do we, you know, continue and make it better.
So, Will, how did you get involved with Next Generation?
Well,
what part do you play in it?
I'm the chairman. I am what someone would say, I guess, the lead guy of the committee.
Yes.
But pretty much how I got involved with it was I actually sat on a couple other committees, and I do believe it was Malika who approached me and told me that they had a committee called the Next Generation Committee and wanted me to be a part of it. I'm like,
sure, why not?
That was just enough right there. But when he started to get in depth and was telling me what they wanted to do with it, I was even more happy to get more involved with it.
So what are some of the other committees that you sat on, or that you sit on?
Well, I was a part of Sergeant at Arms for, since I started getting involved with the union.
Okay, about 9 years or so.
Well, I wouldn't say 9 years. It's like once I became the chairperson of the Next Generation Committee, that's when I had to nix all the other committees.
Okay.
But I was also on Political Action Committee, and I was just on emergency relief. I just joined emergency relief.
You know what? I would love for you to talk a little bit about that emergency relief, because that is a committee that really helps the outreach to the members.
Yes.
And I want people to know, you know, what the emergency relief committee consists of. So tell us a little bit about that committee.
Well, that committee is a committee that's for people in need.
Okay. So,
you know, at the union, we stress it a lot. You know that pretty much that. How can I put this? Oh, God.
No, it's fine.
Well, anytime that like a house fire happens, or a person's in real need of something, they raise a lot of funds to help out people in need within the union. So it's really like, you know, an emergency
release. It's emergency. It's not an abuse release. It's emergency for real. Emergency for members who, like you said, a house may have caught on fire, maybe death in the family, they can't bury somebody. Like I get it.
Yeah, like when my dad died, we didn't have all the money then neither, and there was another fund that I, you know, leaned on, and they helped out. You know,
well, that's good. And like I said, that's why I have you here, because people really need to realize that the internal outreach that goes on within the locals, not just the, you know, external outreach that the locals and the district council have, but the stuff that's going on within the locals for their members, so the members can know how important it is to get involved, to support events, you know, to show up to some of the jazz brunch, to show up to some of the cabarets that they have, the different committees have, because the monies do go towards the members and needs and things that may help you, you know, when you have to knock on the door and say, listen, guys, I need help, you know, I'm in a rough spot, or whatever the situation is. But remember, the emergency relief is about emergency, but just the presence of people being involved speaks volumes. It speaks volumes that, you know, a lot of unions, they don't have a lot of these in-house committees that's going on to, you know, show the in-reach for the outreach for the members, and for you guys to be a part of it, to showing people it's not just about paying your dues or getting a check. You know, it really helps people, and that the struggle is real when it comes to having a second family, a brotherhood and a sisterhood within the locals. It's very, very important in the district council that people understand that you need this family, because the family needs you. You know, you don't pick and choose your family. You don't, you know, but you know what? We're here to help. And like I said, I just want to get the good word out to let a lot of young folks that's getting into the union, that's been in the union, you know, like, get involved, come down to the meetings and see the other committees that's there and what they're doing. I know you meet so often. How often do you all meet in the Next Generation?
At least once a month.
Okay.
It's normally the Saturday that's before our regular monthly meeting. And, you know, during the months that we don't have a monthly meeting, we still meet anyway.
You still meet anyway. You still get together. So what days do you meet on? A Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday at 12 o'clock.
Okay, so Saturday at 12 o'clock, if you're listening, you know, members of the locals, Union 332, and the other locals, you can find out if they have in-house, you know, different committees that you can be a part of, 57, 135, and 413. You know, call up and get involved into your union locals, because like I say, your member environment makes your union stronger, and that's really what's important. So I know you all have done some outreach. I know you've done some outreach at Jinx with the lockers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I know that it was a situation that always happened where it's a shortage of funds within the public school system, and contractors and everybody else thinks it's an open bank, open checkbook, so they try to come with these astronomical numbers on any kind of repairs, and that's why sometimes things fall in disrepair. Jinx happens to be a school that reaches out into their own community and get things done. I've witnessed it myself, and it's something that all schools should really do, because you can't rely on administration all the time. Sometimes you have to create your own wave, and I've seen them create their own wave. So when you see people helping themselves, then it should be your duty to want to go and help as well. And it's a good feeling. It's an emotional attachment, because it's at one point you were a child, and you shouldn't want to see that you can help out a child have a better experience with school, a better relationship with their school, or any kind of amenity. Because I tell my daughter, if I would trade her life for mine in a heartbeat.
Wow.
In a heartbeat. I mean, because she goes to school and her cafeteria is catered by Aramark. We didn't have nothing. We had a space meal. You know, we had peanut butter and jelly. It wasn't.
Listen.
And so, that's one of the things. So we had an opportunity to help Jinx out, because they had lockers that were in disrepair. They were old. They couldn't lock anymore. They couldn't open. They were rusted, falling off the wall. It was a really rough situation. And I believe this particular section of the school were for some of the older children.
Right.
So with them having all of the things that they have and phones and yada yada, they need to be able to secure their belongings. So you know, their boss reached out to our boss,
right,
and our boss reached out to us, and it was a no-brainer. And we went up there. I mean, and we went en masse. It was a bunch of us went up there and tore them lockers off the wall, brought them down 3 flights of stairs, loaded them up, got them out of there. And from my understanding, it saved the school about 40 grand.
Yes, excellent.
And it was a big deal.
And that's what people need to hear and know, that a lot of things that the union does, you know, on the outskirts, that they are with it. They are in the community, and they are helping out the community as much as possible. And I know that those students were so happy, because I know for a while they were struggling. I think they couldn't even use the lockers. A couple of years, they just were carrying all their books to their class, you know. So that was good. And it's all about relationships too. You know, that their principal was able to, you know, contact the union, and you know, you guys made that happen. The men and women of the next generation, right? If I'm not mistaken. I saw the photos. They had a paper article, so that was great. You know, outreach, and people need to know that, you know, the union is strong. That they're here to help people. They can't serve everybody, but they can try to get to, you know, some of the things. You can't save everybody, but you know, if you touch one person and help out a situation, is well deserved. So Troy, we're going to go to a break. I think we deserve a break. Okay, we'll be right back with more Labors Live.
The Source.
The Source.
Weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Special guest host Renee Off Baton every Monday in April.
The Source. Exclusively on WURD Radio and WURDRadio.com.
Did you know that smoking a hookah for 1 hour is equivalent to smoking 10 cigarettes? Or that a single black, Dutch, or Swisher cigarillo has 3 times as much tobacco as a cigarette? Even the leaf wrap is full of tobacco and harmful to your health. Whether it's from a hookah, cigar, cigarillo, or cigarette, where there's smoke, there's danger. To learn more and for help quitting today, visit smokefreephilly.org/danger.
WURDRadio.com. Philadelphia Theater Company presents How to Catch Creation, March 22nd through April 14th. Christina Anderson's new play follows the dreams, losses, and loves of 4 friends in San Francisco who are creating their professional and personal legacies. Ignited by the works of a Black queer feminist writer from long ago, their lives begin to intersect in unexpected ways. For tickets, visit philatheaterco.org or call 215-985-0420.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Councilman Alan Dom is building a brighter future for Philadelphia's children, fighting for more school funding, raising funds to support tech education, and personally donating to teach computer coding at Coded by Kids. Listen to Coded by Kids instructor Ashley and CEO Sylvester Mobley.
There are a lot of kids that will have a brighter future thanks to Alan Dom and his contributions to Coded by Kids.
Having Alan Dom make a commitment to transforming people's lives through technology has helped us. I can't thank Alan Dom enough.
Fundraising to teach computer coding, personally donating thousands, Alan Dom is fighting to give our children the opportunities they deserve and preparing them for success. Big ideas, big achievements, a better city for all of us. Vote Alan Dom, Democrat for City Council at large. Paid for by Alan Dom for City Council.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
It's a busy start to the commute on the Philly roads. This traffic report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need. Schuylkill Expressway, eastbound jams getting on at 202 down to Belmont, then again Montgomery to University. Westbound Schuylkill jams there out to Girard, Montgomery to Belmont, then you're heavy from Gladwin out to 476. Vine Expressway eastbound is crawling 76 across to 95, westbound to Ben Franklin Parkway to the Schuylkill merge. 95 northbound, jams coming out of Delaware, Namens Road to the Commodore Barry Bridge, again from Penn's Landing to Bridge Street. Southbound 95, stop and go from Cottman down to Girard, then you're heavy the airport down to 476. On the Blue Route 476 northbound, it's jammed I-95 to Route 1, southbound jam 76 down to Media Swarthmore. Boulevard northbound, that's crawling the Schuylkill Expressway into Broad Street. Walt Whitman Bridge eastbound jams into Jersey, that's because 42 southbound jams the Walt Whitman Bridge down to 295. 676 southbound, stop and go from Atlantic Avenue down to 42, and 295 southbound jams 73 down to 42. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance. Liberty Mutual customizes your coverage so you only pay for what you need. Go to libertymutual.com for a customized quote and you could save. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Brendan Joseph with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to more Labor's Live, where we have Malik Staten and William Copeland from Labor's Local 332, just talking about the importance of members' involvement. They're talking about the Next Generation Committee that they have that's doing so well and doing a lot in the community. I know you have your Father's Day event coming up, right? Tell us a little bit how that got started, the Father's Day event, because it's a really huge brunch. I want people to know about it.
We could do this in two parts. So all of our committees at the hall have a signature event, and the Next Generation Committee, even though we like to acknowledge or we like to do what we do without acknowledgement, it's important that we recognize that there are people who were there before us to pave the way and show us the way, and they did it so well that we wanted to make that our signature event, a chance for us to look at members of our community, look at the men in our lives. And the award itself is called a Patriarch Award, but you don't have to be a man to be a patriarch all the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So women can also...
Yeah, a woman can absolutely be awarded with a Patriarch Award, because sometimes it just takes that. You never know the hand that, that God will deal you, and you got to play it the best that you can. And I believe the first one that we had, of course, the guy that we all kind of look up to, his dad and big brother and uncle and everything, was the boss. He got his first, and it was important for us to find our signature event, and the Father's Day brunch came because of that, because of people wanting to honor the man, and sometimes in our communities the man is absent.
Right.
So when the man is present, we got to hold that high.
Wow.
And let that be the torch and the banner that everybody looks at, because we need to bring the man back. We need to bring
back into the community, back into the forefront.
Yes, indeed.
So, William, you said it was part 2. What's the second part, William?
Well, it pretty much, it's hard to how to say follow Malik because he can cover everything. But, you know, the piggyback off what he was saying, though, seriously, you know, like, we definitely got to look up to, who paved the way for us.
Right.
You know, so I was very, very, very happy.
So how do you choose the people that you honor? Like, how does that work?
Well, we open up the floor for people to at least drop the name in a hat.
Okay.
And then we got a criteria of, I just say, questions, you know, when it comes to why you want to honor somebody.
Okay.
And we go through, you know, the list of names that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the person has pretty much the best speech and the reason why, you know, they honoring the person they honoring, we picked them.
So how many people are normally honored at one Father's Day brunch? 5. Okay, 5. And so you're choosing them now? Is it during your meetings, during the monthly meetings?
Well, both.
Okay.
We have people are allowed to nominate, and to be honest, Will runs the meeting. I wouldn't know.
So talk to me, Will. So it's during both meetings?
Yeah, well, normally we have an executive board meeting, and that's when we normally come down to the last bit, you know, of who we're going to pick.
Right, okay. So are you accepting names now, or have you already?
Yes, we're still accepting names.
Okay, so members of the Local 332, if you listening, come to the meetings because they are accepting names, and you want to honor your father or your mother because they do recognize that at times, you know, women, single households are running the household, playing both roles, which is very exciting. I guess my question to you, even though I tend and I understand, do the fathers or mothers know that they're there to be honored?
Typically, no. And the stipulation to it is that the person has to write. They have to write
an
essay, pretty much, or a speech, and they would have to present that to the person. Now, the person may know they're coming to an event, but they might not necessarily know that they're the one, the main attraction of the event. So we've had some tear-jerking moments.
Oh, I've been here. So now I understand why.
Yeah. So and it's been a nice dynamic because I mean we've had young ladies honoring their father, sister honoring their brother. We've had those interactions. The good thing about it is you do the work that you do because you're supposed to.
Exactly.
When you're a parent, when you're a role model, when you're whatever, when you're just trying to be positive, that's what you're supposed to do. So it's a nice opportunity for someone to be recognized for doing the right thing.
Right.
And the right thing in this case just happens to build the pillars of our community, because without the man being where he should be, that's part of the reason why we have a lot of the troubles that we do, because these young boys don't have any role models, don't have nobody giving them that body shot, like I always say. And it causes them to act out and go awry and do crazy things, and it breaks us down. So it's just one of those things to try to build our communities up. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a man, but just have to be a pillar.
Speaking of, you know, some of these young, boys and girls, or young men and women in the community, a lot of them are about to graduate school, you know, 11th and 12th graders, and some of them really don't have a clue or inkling as to what they're going to do with themselves, and they'll probably be panicking around now because they're about to graduate in June. For those individuals, you know, what advice can you give them, the ones who may not be certain of their future because of the lack of resources in the communities, or the disorganized, neighborhoods, the things that they see is going on, but they really want something for themselves? And it's not just about union. What can you say to those young individuals who, I know, Malik, you had mentioned one time during our academic workforce program with some of the students that maybe they need to think about, being around people who are older, who are doing something with themselves as role models and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think a major part of the failures of our systems as they stand today is that like I said before about a contingency plan. See, the way that the system is kind of set up, that if you don't go to college, it's a wrap.
Right.
You're done. And back when, you know, if you were good with these, you were good with your hands.
Right.
You can always earn a living. You can always do the right thing. You didn't have to be on the corner hustling or doing anything wrong or negatively or hurting anybody. You can always earn a living. And part of the problem is that we get caught up in the optics. Our culture is so visual.
Right.
So if you look the part, you have to be the part. Like, I can't come into a room with some glasses on and some high water pants and I'm the man. That can't happen.
Right.
I can't be the role model because of that, just because of the optics. But in 9 times out of 10, the people who are the most successful, you can't look at them and tell. They're successful because they're focused on what they're trying to do, and it does something for them. Because, see, success doesn't necessarily have to mean money. It just has to mean that you're fulfilling yourself, because as long as you're fulfilling yourself and building yourself up, all of that other stuff comes with it. It comes with it because you'll become better and better at what you're doing. So a lot of these young adults that are coming out of high school, a lot of them haven't sorted out the things that are going to fill them up. When they go to sleep at night, they have filled their body, their mind, and their spirit up. Right. And the more you do that, no matter what your passion is, the better you'll get at it. And then it won't be a job, it won't be anything. It'll be what you live for. And if you can monetize that, that makes it even more the better. But today, you can monetize anything. I can name some people off the top of my head. I don't like to slander people, but I know there's a group of young ladies on TV. I have seen no talent, but they almost billionaires. I can't understand it, but that's where we live today.
Right.
So it should be no way for us as a people or people in general to not be able to make a buck and fill themselves up and be passionate about things. And I think that's something that needs to be taught in school, because there are so many avenues to make a buck these days. So it shouldn't be about the buck. It should be about filling yourself up.
Yeah, that's real important. William, what do you say to those about to leave school and may not, you know, definitely not going to college because they just don't see themselves as college material? You know, what do you say to those young men and those young boys and girls, rather, who are just, they don't have a clue, they yearn for something and they know it's not where they are in their community, they don't see it. You know, what should they do? Like, what do you think?
Well, I know it may be tiresome to beat in somebody's head, education, education, education. But for me, what has always worked was getting more education. It doesn't necessarily have to be college.
Right.
You know, you can go back to school and learn a vocational trade.
That's right.
That's what I did. I did it multiple times. You know, and it's always like opening another door. You know, if you always feel as though someone's going to slam a door in your face, try to open another door.
Right.
And walk through that.
Yeah, you can't give up. You know, I know that they're probably discouraged too. Like I said, June is about to approach. You know, I mean, we all had that feeling, especially if you feel like you're not college material. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? But then sometimes fear is good because it pushes you. It instills something in you to really get you moving, get you thinking. Go ahead, say something.
No, my thing also too, I say it to everybody: don't be afraid of failure.
That's right.
Not saying that you're going to fail, but if you don't pass something the first time, you try again. You keep trying and trying and trying until you get what you want. You know, never give up.
That's right, and don't get frustrated with yourself. You know, you got to know that, like you said, failure, sometimes failure is your friend. Failure is a way of building character in a person. Failure is a way for you to look at something else totally different so you can achieve it in a sense. Failure helps you set your goals. Failure helps you, you know, build these characters within yourself that you need to have to install to be great. And you don't have to wait for somebody else to applaud you or say good job. You have to know, and a lot of these young kids, they have to realize that they're in it for themselves right now. That they have to focus on themselves and not worry about what somebody else is saying, whether they're adult, whether their peers. If you have a goal, if you have something you want to do, go for it. Do not, you know, don't get caught up, like you said, on a corner because, okay, now you have a diploma or you barely passed. Who cares as long as you pass? They say it don't matter how you get there as long as you get there. Don't beat yourself up. Just try, jump into something, whatever your passions are, and continue to do it. You know, we try to do the academic workforce program, which was real successful. But you see, there was a couple of people, a couple of kids in there that we had that really didn't appreciate it. And the academic workforce, the labor's academic workforce, once again, is this program that Lester put together with the training school to give students of the Philadelphia and 5-county school district areas just the insight of the day as a labor when it comes to the education side and the hands-on training, the work that they actually do. And a lot of the kids were receptive. They enjoyed it. They had questions. They were excited. But it was a few that, you know, basically their whole disposition was very disrespectful. You know, their dispositions was, you know, why am I here? And after a day, you know, I kind of like worked with them and was okay. But by day 2, they had to catch a little bit of the tone state, and, you know, that I was nice about it, but I just had to let them know that these people that allow you to have this 2-day opportunity for free and all you had to do was show up, that you weren't going to be disrespectful, because the men and women of these locals in that district council, they pay dues for you to have the bus that comes up here, to have the food that we, you know, were able to give you, the educational experience, you know, on a smart board and, you know, playing educational games, and then have all the equipment, steel-toe boots, you know, swag bag as we call it, with helmets. They got to take all this home, and you had just a chosen few, very small, that was their demeanor was real disrespectful. And you know, after a while, I just had to let them know that that's not what you're going to do, that worked. And they were on the bays, and they were tired. They were picking up to see men and walking, and they were exhausted. But I told them, as tired as they are, they have to realize that men and women go out there every day and do their work in the name of their family, supporting their families and paying bills and making sure that the kids have clothes on their backs and the latest, you know, gear or whatever that is, and even just the electric bill and phone. And you're going to sit here and act like you don't appreciate it. I wasn't having it. But a lot of kids were really appreciated. They were thankful. They said they couldn't believe that the laborers did half of the work that they did out in the field, and that they were excited. And if they weren't going to college, that they want to touch base with us again to see if the apprenticeship was available to them or whatever opportunities. And that's the whole point of just letting, you know, those kids see that in addition to going to college or if you're not going to college, the trades is something, the trades industry you want to look into, you want to see. Because I told them, you know, Comcast wasn't coming to your school, bringing you to their facility and giving you a day and experience of Comcast to be an electrician or whatever that looks like, or technician, whatever that looks like. They weren't doing it. Certain companies, they weren't doing it. And we as laborers, part of our, you know, we build communities, we build outreach. We wanted to let them see that there are opportunities for you. You just got to get your education on, because guess what? You don't want anybody working on any building, no matter what age, if they can't add, if they don't know the understanding of certain weights, you know, that you can't have on certain scaffolds, and pouring semen, and what you need to do to stack certain things for safety reasons. You want somebody. You know, a lot of times people say, well, you know, we walk past the neighborhoods and we see all these people and they don't look like us. Okay, well, if we're there, then show up to those work sites. The union can't take everybody in, because the union has to be responsible with jobs if they're there and available. But if you live in a neighborhood and you're good with your hands and you've done a lot of work, show up to that work site every day at 6 a.m. Because guess what? One day that man is going to pull you on. Then guess what? 2 weeks or 10 days or 5 days later, wherever it is, an agent's going to be there to sign you up. So sometimes if they're in your backyard, literally a contractor doing work, you need to show up to that work site, and you need to push from, listen, I'm good with this, I can show you, because we'll come sign you up, but we can't do all the legwork, and we have to be responsible in bringing people, you know, in the union. Just can't sign people up to give jobs that's not there. That's not responsible. Plus, we got to realize that we have 6,000 members, and some of them aren't working, so they have to have first dibs on jobs. But that's just to let people know, you know, this conversation, again, I'm getting off, is that the youth is important to really, you know, have some drive. Understand that education is key. The PSSAs are coming up right now. Finals are coming up if they haven't started in school. Pay attention. There's so many different websites, you know, iExcel, Khan Academy. You got to take it serious sometimes. You can't wait till you graduate and then try to take, it's fine, you can do that, but while you're there, this is all you have to do when you're young, is just go to school, you know, do your chores, stay out of trouble, and that's it. But you got to pay attention, you know, kids, and that's, like I said, that's why we have the millennials here, the semi-millennials, I want to call them, because these guys, they started when they were millennials and younger, and they understood that after a while, getting involved is important. I just wanted, you know, you guys to talk a little bit and to the public, and so people can hear, you know. And when you have mothers and grandmothers out there that's raising some of these kids, you know, push them to speak for themselves. Don't advocate for them, because, you know, they have to stand on their own sometimes. You know, a lot of times, and y'all know it, can you, you know, my grandson needs this, or, you know, stop speaking for them. Push them to do their own work, to talk, because we talked again about that Instagram, and we want to get back to that before we take a commercial about the Instagram and how everything just instantly comes so they don't have to work for much. So we'll be right back with more Labors Live.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
It's a busy start to the commute on the Philly roads. This traffic report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need. Schuylkill Expressway, eastbound jams getting on at 202 down to Belmont, then again Montgomery to University. Westbound Schuylkill jams there out to Girard, Montgomery to Belmont, then you're heavy from Gladwin out to 476. Vine Expressway eastbound is crawling 76 across to 95, westbound the Ben Franklin Parkway to the Schuylkill merge. 95 northbound, jams coming out of Delaware, Namans Road to the Commodore Barry Bridge, again from Penn's Landing to Bridge Street. Southbound 95, stop and go from Cottman down to Girard, then you're heavy the airport down to 476. On the Blue Route 476 northbound, it's jammed I-95 to Route 1, southbound jam 76 down to Media Swarthmore. Boulevard northbound, that's crawling the Schuylkill Expressway into Broad Street. Walt Whitman Bridge eastbound jams into Jersey, that's because 42 southbound jams the Walt Whitman Bridge down to 295. 676 southbound, stop and go from Atlantic Avenue down to 42, and 295 southbound jam 73 down to 42. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance. Liberty Mutual customizes your coverage so you only pay for what you need. Go to libertymutual.com for a customized quote, and you could save. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Brendan Joseph with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Don't miss the Electric Magazine Show, hosted by Cody Anderson and Vicki Leach. Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. Exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
We first opened about 10 years ago. We were small, just a few of us, but it was exciting. I always dreamt of having my own business. It was kind of slow at first, but things started picking up. We had big plans, but in our wildest dreams, we never thought we'd have this much work. Yeah, with so many businesses caught off guard by the storm, Reed Waste Management has never been busier.
What will become of your business after a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now, before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation? Follow us on social media using the hashtag onWURD. Be heard. Stay connected to Word Radio. Independent Black Media.
What's cheesy, topped with a fluffy egg and crisp applewood smoked bacon? Easy. McDonald's new $2 breakfast deal. For a limited time, get a flaky bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit for just $2. And if you're craving something savory and sweet, get a delicious bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddles for the same price. Hurry in and bite into this tasty deal any day of the week. Only at McDonald's. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal for a limited time only.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. independent black media.
Welcome back to more A Labor's Live. But we were talking just a little bit about the youth and getting involved and, you know, trying to focus on the future for themselves. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Instagram, because we talk about how the instant, you know, disconnect, but, you know, our youth look at it that they're connecting, but they're not. Let's talk a little bit about how the social media has really hurt our youth.
I think the major thing about our social media is, first of all, children today have so much information at their disposal, but the part about it is no retention, because everything is instant gratification, then it's gone. I think socially it damages them because they don't really have lifelong or any substance to their relationships. Their relationships reside on the phones and on the computers. It's no human touch. It's no, and I think that's the part that's missing. I struggle with that with my own children, but when I see children behaving a certain way, especially when someone's giving them something or doing something for them, that's what that says. They're not used to the human touch, and me being a boy and me having a stern father, the human touch was a different kind of touch. And boys definitely need that at some point. I don't care how it goes. That has to happen. The conversations and talking and yelling and screaming, they brush that right off. I would expect for me that if I raise my voice, my daughter and I are tight, that it would do something for her. But boys in particular, you got to touch them. You got to touch them. There's no other way. And I think the major part that makes the generation, those youngsters that's coming out of high school, that's hampering the boys by them not being touched, it makes them emotional. It makes them even more emotional than they should be. And so when something happened, you can't punch me in the face. You can't. I can't lose a fight because I got to kill you now.
Right.
So because they're emotional and they make emotional decisions, and it's bad. Because it can be used for good. Right. Instagram can even be used for good because it's a tool, and that's the way it should be presented. And if adults would take the time and the energy to get involved, even with that, because you're not going to stop it.
Right.
You're not going to stop Facebook, Instagram, none of that stuff. You're not going to be at Snapchat. You're not going to be able to stop it. The best thing you can do is educate yourself at that point. You got to find a way to wiggle your way into it so you can be in that world too, so that you can influence your child. Because the most important thing is your influence, and not just your child, but children in general. Because even when I talk to the youth, I try to talk in their language. I try to be educated in their language so that they get me. So even if I'm talking if I'm giving them a good message, but it's not in the language that they understand, go ahead. Exactly. He tripping. I ain't trying to hear that. But if I speak their language, I'm using the words. I'm dripping. You see me? You know what I'm saying? I'm dripping today. When you speak the language, you can get them to bring them barriers down. You can get through. You can have breakthroughs. But if you think that you're going to stop these things that they're doing and the way that their culture is structured, you can forget it. It's not going to happen because they live by these things. They live by their phones. They live by how they look on the gram and sliding in the DMs and all that. They ain't got no game. They don't know nothing about walking up to a shorty. She tight. You just walk up to her and just kick it to her. They don't know nothing about that. You ain't never seen her a day in your life and she tight and you kick it to her. They don't know nothing about that. They done had a whole relationship with her on Facebook, on Instagram. By the time they see her, they know her already. That's easy. And that trickles through the rest of their life. They want everything easy. They're not willing to put the sweat equity into it. And it really hurts them individually, and then it hurts our society as a whole, and not even just the underprivileged people, but even the privileged people. Of course. I mean, because
across the board.
Yeah, a guy got off. He killed somebody and got off. They made up a word for it. I mean, it was unbelievable. It'll come to me, but they made up a word. Basically, he was so rich that he didn't understand right from wrong. And
I remember
those things are allowed to trickle into our psyche because, once again, we look at the things and rely on the things that we shouldn't rely on. We should rely on each other, not on phones. Phones shouldn't be the relationship. Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat shouldn't be the relationship. It should be the human touch. I should be able to sit across the table at my dinner table with my wife and my children and speak to them. We should speak. We should talk. We should have actual conversations about our lives. And there is so much of that that's missing today. There's no communication. People really live on their phones, and I know I am too. I'm on my phone. I'm checking my emails. I'm doing that. But at my dinner table, there is no phone. Right. We will not do that. We will talk. Each person will have their turn to say how their day was, each person has that moment to say how their day was. Myself, my wife, my daughter, and my son is 4, and he has to say how his day was. It's important. You have to have that communication. And I think that's the major part that's missing. We shifted from communication the way that we should, which is better for us as human beings and being social and emotional creatures that we are, to a screen being our whole interactions with each other. And I think that's something that the youth need to understand too. It's okay to have those things, but you also have to be dynamic. You also have to hit that switch and go the other way too. It's just like anybody else. If you can go into any room with any group of people with any culture and communicate,
right,
you're gonna be okay. But if you stuck behind that phone and behind that screen, it's going to be a rough world, because the world don't revolve around that screen. So
yeah, and that's true too, because a lot of times in the classroom they do a lot with the online apps too, teaching. And my thing is, sometimes I get frustrated because they're good to help and assist, but when you're really trying to learn, what happens is once that child hits that enter button, they done forgot what they just did. Listen, and don't let it be wrong and then the explanation comes up, because they just want to push that arrow to go to the next problem. And that's difficult too. You got to make sure that it's that balance where they're taking notes. They're, writing things down. A lot of times I say, well, where are your notes? Oh, we didn't take notes today. How you don't take notes on something that you don't have a clue? Now it's, 4 o'clock and you home and you can't remember because one, she showed you a problem or whatever, and then you went online and you try to learn what's going on with that. So now you have to, you have to, as a parent, download all these apps, Khan Academy, iExcel, for different, ways to help the child learn in a sense. And then, God forbid, if you teach them a different way that the teacher showed them without you taking notes. And it's like, well, I went to school the next day and, she said, well, you can use that method your mother taught you, but that's not what I taught you. Well, where's the notes at? Like, you can't win for losing. So sometimes it got to be a balance between the two. When it comes to the youth, you got to give that time away from the electronics. How do you handle you got a couple of kids, Will?
Yeah, I got it.
How does the electronics work in your household?
Oh, man, I'll tell you this. I definitely need a lesson from what Malik was just talking about.
It's a lot.
Yeah, each one of my kids got a phone or a tablet and stuff like that.
And we're guilty sometimes because it's that quiet time. You're like, you okay? Absolutely. Well, you go here, but we gotta have balance in the household when it comes to electronics, social media and everything with these kids, because they will spend hours. Forget I'm not even talking about the games, the handheld games. YouTube in itself is one aspect, but then you have these games that are addictive, and all the kids want to do. We was just saying how they're building. Yes.
Yep, I got my oldest son. I'm pretty sure he's probably listening right now. He is in Fortnite. He's probably playing it right now as he's listening to me.
Wow.
Fortnite. I'm like, oh my goodness, can't stand that game.
Oh God, I'm just so glad I don't have to worry about that.
I'm guilty of playing a lot of games myself. Like I'll go home and I'll play NBA 2K. 19.
Troy, you say you're guilty too. He raised his hand. But there's a balance, you guys, that you have to go to work and you have responsibilities, and you just got to make sure with these kids that there is a balance, people. Because listen, check their homework. Make sure they, understand what they're doing. Just don't let them say, "Oh, my homework is finished." And I know, men and women, you come home, you tired, you're just glad that their homework is done. So you think, but you got to go behind them. It's so important that we as adults continue to go behind the kids and their work ethic. Make sure that they're doing, the schooling, and that you are engaging with the teachers is so important. I know we're tired and we just glad that they're passing, and it's okay, but you have to be up on it, because if not, they could pass your child, and then when they take the PSSAs, you wonder why. How can they fall below if they receive A and B's all year? And that can happen, people. So just be mindful. Those PSSAs, they follow them, especially 7th grade, going into high school is very important. So don't let the A's and B's fool you. You got to make sure they actually know the work. So stay up on them, stay up on those PSSAs. Like I said, testing is coming up for everyone, I think 4th grade and up, and it's just very important that they do some review stuff. Go to iExcel.com, or you can also go to Khan Academy, which is free. And I'm just saying this because education is key, and we have to realize that the students and the youth of today are our members of tomorrow. They really are. I mean, you guys are here, but in 20 years, 25 years, when you guys are about to go out, it's that next generation, which is now that we're talking about, you know, that's going to run things and take over. You just want to make sure they're well prepared. So with that being said, education is key. Prepare yourselves, prepare your kids, prepare your family, and have a great weekend. We have to go out, right, Troy? That's the end of our Labels Live show. We appreciate you all, and God willing, we'll see you next week.